What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the JDW SportsTalkShow. We're ready to kick off Week 2 Monday Night Football. We have a pretty good matchup here. Two NFC birds, Philadelphia Eagles at home, Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins coming to Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts looking to have a little bit of a better game, take care of that football. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons looking to get their first win because, that NFC South is looking pretty rough, man. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're looking really good. And the New Orleans Saints, both of those teams are looking freaking incredible. Will the Saints keep it up? Will they continue to be that dominant? And will the Buccaneers continue to be as dominant as they are? I mean, it has been a really good start to the season for the NFC South. And the Eagles, they have a really good chance to get themselves a little more ahead in the NFC East with the Cowboys taking a loss to the Saints, as we just talked about. So both teams can really benefit from a win here tonight. It's going to be a good game. I'm excited. I would like for you guys to follow along in the comment section. I want to hear, who's going to win, score predictions, your player of the game, all that kind of stuff. So real quick, we are going to go through the injuries. Injury-wise, we have not too many. It's a little bit of a light night. The Philadelphia Eagles have two receivers on the list, and fortunately, both of them are pretty good. Wide receiver Johnny Wilson, he is questionable. So if he doesn't play, that's going to be a big loss, especially with wide receiver A.J. Brown being out, superstar, one of the better receivers in the league. Unfortunately, A.J. Brown, him being out sucks. You're going to have Devontae Smith, and you're going to need, if Johnny Wilson plays, hopefully he can step up. He probably won't be 100% since he's already questionable, but they still do have other guys like Jahan Dotson and trade from the Washington Commanders, Paris Campbell, Britton Covey. I mean, they have a couple of guys. Britton Covey, I haven't really heard too much about him, but as we all know, Paris Campbell, if he could catch the football, he could be a big time playmaker. Jahan Dotson, I don't know how I feel about Jahan Dotson. I mean, I know he's a good football player, but there's got to be something wrong when a division rival is gonna trade him to you. So I have my concerns about him going to Philadelphia, but maybe it's just a poor franchise like the Commanders usually. They're a poverty franchise. They're not very good. Unfortunately, I do like the Commanders one. Those were the teams that I could kind of get with, but unfortunately, they aren't very good. And Steelers kind of plucked one from them if he does end up being good, but that's besides the point. Johnny Wilson, questionable. A.J. Brown out. Not really too good, A.J. Brown being out. Can Devontae Smith step up and be the number one? I mean, you do have other weapons. Dallas Goedert. You have Grand Calcaterra. I don't even remember how to say his name, but he's one step behind him. And, they have a good offensive line, but, injuries kind of sucks to have a superstar go out. Offense will need to pick it up. Someone else will need to pick it up. And then for Atlanta Falcons, you have two guys out, linebacker Nate Ladman and cornerback Antonio Hamilton. So Falcons out with a couple defensive players here. Good thing it's nothing huge, nothing big. So I think they have a pretty good chance tonight. You look at the keys to win. So you have the Philadelphia Eagles. They're favored by 5.5. Let's get that out of the way. But Jalen Hurts needs to take care of the ball. I mean, he has not taken care of the ball. Last game, he threw two really stupid interceptions, and he's putting the ball in harm's way. Or did he throw one and he almost threw two? I don't remember exactly, but I mean, he had a couple bad throws, quite a few throws. He got away with one. I remember I think it was Jair Alexander. They got away with one there. But Jalen Hurts needs to protect that football because their run defense didn't look good last week versus the Packers. I mean, Josh Jacobs had a really good night. Packers just ran the ball really well. So you're gonna have to protect the ball because you don't want to give the Falcons the ball and let them run all over you with Bijan Robinson and the offensive line. Kirk Cousins knows how to command an offensive line and kind of get them in a position to communicate to them, and that kind of stuff is very important to set your protection the way you want it, the way you need it, and he's gonna do that. So, but Jalen Hurts is going to have to protect that ball, man. You cannot turn the ball over. This Falcons offense is going to be explosive sooner or later. Kirk Cousins, he's older, so he's taking a little time to adjust, coming back from the Achilles tear. Very, very invasive injury. So, how long is it going to take Kirk Cousins to get back to 100%? And he's 36, so, is he going to start losing some arm pretty soon, especially since he was out and injury and all that kind of stuff. But Jalen Hurts needs to protect the ball, man. That's the bottom line. Run the football. Don't fumble it. Don't make any stupid decisions. Literally, the first game of the play, he made really stupid decisions. But fortunately, they were able to get away with it last week versus the Packers. It's not you're not going to always be able to get away with that. So and that kind of stuff. The Eagles defense really helped win that game, and especially in the beginning when it seems like the Packers were going to find a way to get up a couple scores. Because a couple of times the Packers got that ball back, Packers just didn't capitalize. But that brings us to our second key for the Eagles is, you need to pressure Kirk Cousins. If you could pressure Kirk Cousins, he can't really move. He's coming off the Achilles still. Not really. He wasn't ever really fast to begin with. So you need to pressure Kirk Cousins. You need to make it difficult on him. You need to hit him. You need to get him in that mode where, hey, this Eagles defensive line is coming at me. I'm going to need to get this ball out quick. And he does have really, he does. I almost said Justin Jefferson because I'm used to him being on the Vikings. But, you do have Drake London, who is, very underrated, very good wide receiver. You have Kyle Pitts, and then you have Bijan on the backfield. He can catch the ball in the backfield as well, but you need to pressure Kirk Cousins, and that defense line needs to show up. Last week versus the Packers, the defense line had a lot to be desired. Was not too crazy about how this defensive line performed, especially the edge rush. Felt like the edge rush was very lacking, so you're going to want to get some good pressure on Kirk Cousins to at least make it a little more difficult on him, because the Eagles defense was not great last week. Defense need to limit these explosive plays. They allowed over 400 yards of Jordan Love in the Packers last week. So, but so they're going to need to limit those explosive plays. Remember, they got a little extra rest. I was kind of thinking for a second, no, they didn't play on Thursday night. No, they didn't play on Monday night. I forgot it was a Friday night game. So remember, they did get a little extra rest, but they were coming from pretty far away. But I think them being home, I think, they'll good, little extra rest being home. But defense needs to limit those explosive plays, and hopefully that helps the defense being at home, kind of having that advantage. So the defense will need to limit those explosive plays. So Kirk Cousins, I almost said Justin Jefferson again, but Kirk Cousins, Pitts, and Drake London, these guys can really come at you, and they have someone else. I'm just freaking blanking on him, dude. They have Darnell Mooney. I'll be honest, I did have to look up the depth chart quick, but yeah, they have Darnell Mooney. I like Mooney money with 2 O's. Really like him. I really like him with the pairing of Kirk Cousins, Ray McCloud. They have some decent receivers, and offensive line is okay. They do have a couple spots where you're kind of left. How is Caleb McGarry going to play? Is he going to have a good game, or is he going to have a horrible game? He's a bit inconsistent. Jake Matthews, he's fine. Chris Lindstrom, like him, he's getting up there in age, but they have a couple good pieces. The interior. Let's see how they can do against the the strong interior of Philadelphia, Jalen Carter and Johnson. Blanking on him too, man. I'm blanking on a couple guys here right now. But on to the Falcons. So the Falcons, they can't start 0-2 in the NFC South, as we were talking about earlier. That NFC South was, this isn't really key to the game, more of a storyline, kind of something else to talk about, but you can't start 0-2 in the NFC South. Look at the Buccaneers and look at the Saints. Those two have been tearing it up the first 2 weeks. They've been dominating, beating pretty good teams, and the Saints really have looked dominant as can be. So you start 0-2. Those teams are gonna start pulling away with this division pretty early. You don't have to worry about being behind the Panthers. The Panthers are an absolute mess. They're worse than last year somehow, but can't afford to start 0-2 and be 2 games behind of those 2 other teams who are looking absolutely incredible. So you got to start. You got to get the win tonight. It's a big game for them in that aspect. Don't want to lose. Even though they don't really have momentum now, you want to get a little bit of momentum to try and keep up with those 2 other teams. All right, next up, run the ball. You need to run the damn ball. Last week, the Eagles let up over 150 yards of rushing. They let up quite a bit. Struggled to stop the run, and that's due to some of the edge rushers and the linebackers being a little, not the greatest, struggling a little bit. So the Falcons need to run the ball. Bijan Robinson, get that run game going. Find a way, help Kirk Cousins get the ball running. And if you could run the ball, then you could throw the ball. I'm a big believer in that. If you could run the ball really well, you could definitely throw the ball really well. It's going to make it a lot easier to throw to some of these playmakers when the Eagles defense are they're going to be more worried about the run and the Bijan Robinson and the electric athlete that he is coming out of the backfield, or even just run the football. You want to try and force them to get a couple of guys out of coverage and load in the box a little bit more. So run the ball. get the run game going. Like I talked about earlier, the Eagles can't just sit in the in the box. You're facing Kirk Cousins, one of the better gunslingers in the league. I think he's an awesome player. He is an awesome player. I just don't think he's great. But he has some good weapons. He's got a decent offensive line, good run game. So if they could get that run game going, man, I think the Falcons are going to be in pretty good shape tonight. Get a few turnovers, capitalize on those turnovers off Jalen Hurts. You get a couple turnovers, man, can really change the dynamic of this game quick if it's not going your way, or if it's going your way, really just lay on the beating and pull away from the Eagles. I mean, the Packers had the chance, they didn't. So we'll see how that Vic Fangio defense looks. Can they stop the run of Falcons? Can they do a little better than they did last week? You're playing a just as good quarterback this week. I love Jordan Love, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and then you have Kirk Cousins, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Let's see if he can regain some of that status this week versus the Eagles, who allowed over 400 yards last week. Get that run game going, get Kirk Cousins going, get that arm going, and get some of these weapons, get them the ball in their hands, let them make a couple plays. So I think the Falcons have a good shot to win here tonight. I mean, we move over to my prediction. I do have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm keeping the same score prediction I had in my score predictions video. And, if you missed it, we do them every week. Score predictions, power rankings, talking about all the bettings and all the lines and all that kind of stuff. I just see Eagles are favored by 5.5. I would not touch that line. I think that their defense worried me a little bit last week, their run defense and their passing defense. I do like what they have there for the future. I thought Quinion Mitchell played pretty well. I mean, they have some really nice pieces. A defensive line. I don't know if they're going to be able to get enough pressure on Kirk Cousins to slow him down a little bit and kind of make him try and get that ball out early. I'm not really sure if the pressure is going to get to him. Like I said, the Falcons have a decent offensive line, and the Eagles, have a pretty interesting defensive line. Are they going to be able to get some pressure? I'm not too sure, but I think the Falcons. I think this game is going to be close right down to the very end. I guess I think it's going to be like 27-20, and we get a nice vintage Kirk Cousins drive to say, "Hey, I'm here. We are here, Atlanta," and you go down and you find a way to beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, and I think that's going to kick off the Kirk Cousins era. Well, the second game really, but really get this Kirk Cousins era in Atlanta going. Because don't forget, they do have some good pieces on defense. It's definitely spotty, but they have a couple of good pieces. AJ Terrell is gonna lock down Devontae Smith pretty well, and we're gonna see who else is gonna step up. But on the Eagles side, man, I'm a little worried about Jalen Hurts and him, and the way he doesn't really protect the football too much. He hasn't looked good as, he hasn't been that great of a passer. A couple of things I'm a little worried about. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, big-time playmaker week one. He's going to continue to do so. I mean, A.J. Brown being out, that hurts. So, teams are going to gravitate to Devontae Smith and, double team him and force someone else to step up. I'm not sure if they could do it. If the U.S. are put in a spot where they need to push, are they going to convert it? Last week they were 2 for 4. So, I am taking Atlanta Falcons 28-27. I think it's going to be a good game. This was kind of one of my upsets for the week. I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Eagles. As you see, the Eagles are favored by 5.5, which is quite a bit. I would not touch that line. I think that's a little too much. Do have the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see I almost said Gus Bradley. Oh, God. Oh, nightmares. But Vic Fangio, we're going to see how that defense is, right? Week 2, what improvements are they going to make? I'm expecting some, but I'm not expecting it to be perfect right away. I think that this defense general is going to get better as the year goes on. That's if, the defensive line can get something for out. They can start getting pressure from the defense line. That's what they struggled with last week. Can they do it this week? Get pressure on the inside and the outside on Kirk Cousins. I just don't think it's going to be enough. Don't think what they have is going to be enough. Like I said, AJ Brown is out, all that kind of stuff. But Atlanta Falcons 28-27. That is my prediction for tonight's game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you guys for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show. If you enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And let's not forget to shout out our little member, Marshman Gunner. Thank you for being a member, man. If you like, it's a very easy way to get into giveaways. You're automatically entered whether you're in the Discord server or not. A lot of good perks that come with that membership, and just really just supporting the channel so I can do more and give back more to the channel. And that's, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I got a lot going on with my background here. A lot of things are going to change in the background here. We're just reconstructing my room, and I want to reconstruct kind of this area. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for tuning into the JDW Sports Talk Show. Like I said, like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on. Great place to be, great community. Join that Discord server, become a member. A lot of different ways to support and become a part of the community. So I will catch you guys next week for Monday Night Football. And Of course, all other stuff throughout the week, predictions, power rankings, Thursday night football, all that good stuff, Colts football. So I'll see you guys next time.